If you need sleepers for week 11, we have got you covered. Sam and I will each give you our 3 favorite sleepers for the week. Then we'll spend a few minutes answering your start sit questions. Is off with our flaming hot, bold predictions.
Flaming Hot, brought to you by Cheetos.
Sam, let's kick it off with you. Who's your first sleeper for week 11?
Well, can we just start off listen, all right, I know we patted ourselves on the back a little hard last week. But I mean, just generally speaking, this has got to be the best kept secret as far as sleeper shows goes. Because we are just knocking it out of the park pretty consistently.
I will say, last week was pretty bad. We were pretty bad last week.
We were, but,
we were pretty bad.
But even my worst one, which was Chris Rodriguez, if he hadn't been injured, I think he would have added on to his total. I mean, he still put up like eight or 9 fantasy points for the day. Because he found the end zone. So, I don't know. But, we had a couple just offhanded comments. I mentioned Kyle Williams from New England, and even you, as a Patriots fan, looked at me like, what?
Whoa, no, I did not.
I know. You were going to use him anyway.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I should have used him because I talked to Demario Douglas, who's the one wide receiver in New England who did nothing.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened, but yeah. So anyway, okay. Hold on, I'm broadcasting this. Okay. First sleeper. Look, I'm just gonna go right out of the gate. This is an easy one. Almost too easy. And I had to claim him before I had to claiming. What's up, Jamie? I had to claim him before Alex got his greasy little paws on him. Because I'm so sick of hearing him talk shit about the Bengals every single week. So, my first sleeper is Pat Freiermuth. He is such a good sleeper that I am starting him in numerous leagues over numerous far better options. I taking him over Colson Loveland in leagues, taking him over, I mean, the list goes on. But let me I'm not going to bore you with Freiermuth's career stats or, a lot of his stats this year, because frankly, it's not been the best year for him. What I will do, however, is I will tell you what Pat Freiermuth means in games against the Cincinnati Bengals. He has played the Bengals 9 times. He's averaged 5.3 catches per game. 8 times he hit 9 catches, or I'm sorry, 8 times he hit 8 catches, and or 2 times he hit 8, 2 times he hit 9. I'm sorry. He averages 7.3 targets a game. That includes ones where he got 10, 12, 11, and 11. They love Freiermuth in this matchup, and it's because the Bengals are always bad against the tight end, but we're taking it to a whole new level this year. of being absolutely horrible. He averages 12 yards per catch against the Bengals, and averages just under a touchdown every time he plays them. Now let's talk about earlier this year. We already saw him once, and I will throw this caveat in here. In my opinion, if you have any tight end in this game, you can probably count them as a sleeper. Because the first time around, Freiermuth, Darnell Washington, and Jonnu Smith all caught touchdowns, as did Noah Fant on Cincinnati. He was 4 for 40 for a touchdown. But Freiermuth is definitely the guy, and he knows Cincinnati well. So on the 25th, he caught 5 balls on 6 targets, 111 yards, which is 22 yards per, which for a tight end is pretty ridiculous. He had 2 touchdowns. And I mentioned Jonnu and Washington partially because I don't know that they necessarily will get into the act as much as they did last time, which just means that's more opportunities for Pat Freiermuth in this thing. And honestly, I've never seen Aaron Rodgers, I don't think, use a tight end that much since, he hit Mercedes Lewis a couple times. But yeah, so I think the tight ends are all in this game. They're all useful. The Steelers are going to go to him more often than not. And I can't see him. I mean, I think this is a 20-point game waiting to happen. I think Freiermuth is nearly, depending on Jaylen Warren, I think Freiermuth is nearly guaranteed to get 2 touchdowns, especially with Metcalf not playing so well lately. And 6 catches and at least 70 yards. So if you have any questions about the tight end on your team, Pat Freiermuth is the place to go.
It's the tight end bowl. The tight end bowl. They're all going to score, just like that.
That's right.
Yeah,
it's the tight end bowl.
Last time they played, they all scored touchdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's going to get quite the numbers that you're expecting from him, but he's a good play. He's definitely a good play. It should be a lot of points scored in that game, like there was when they played, a few weeks ago. Flacco, he on the other side, he helps generate those shootouts. Whereas if there was Jake Browning on the other side, I was like, they're probably not going to get a lot of points in this game on either side. But the Steelers offense, they got to keep up with the Bengals offense. And with not having, a ton of talent at the wide receiver position, it's DK Metcalf, who you mentioned, really isn't having that great of a year. It's inconsistent from him.
I mean, he started off trying to fool us all, like, hey, I'm back. And then now he's just like...
He's touchdown dependent. He's touchdown dependent. So yeah, I mean, it's DK, it's Calvin Austin, who's been dropping some balls, hasn't been looking that great the last few weeks. So yeah, Rodgers is going to go look to the tight ends. It's Freiermuth, it's Jonnu Smith, it's even Darnell Washington. That's who he's looking to. So in a game, like this,
I don't mind Roman Wilson in this game either. I'll just throw that out there as well. I mean, the Bengals defense is that bad that you can pretty much just take your pick.
They're that bad. And you texted me like days in advance, like, do not take that Freiermuth. I was laughing when I got that. I was like, I was like, I'm just going to take all the Steelers
Yeah.
tight ends as my 3 sleepers.
I mean, like every week, I know that one of the guys on your list is going to be playing the Bengals. And frankly, I'm sick of it.
Well, you know what? Tonight, teaser, I'm actually going to play a Bengal as one of my sleepers. But you got to stay tuned for that. All right. So let's get to my first sleeper. And I just want to go back to what we talked about last week for a second. We talked about Chris Rodriguez, and I told you how terrible of a call that was. And I was right. But at the same time, I was right. At the
he
same
found the end zone.
He did, and he still only scored 7 points. But at the same time, I did tell you that if they were playing a team, and I specifically mentioned the Dolphins, if they were playing the Dolphins, I'd get behind you and I would be full support in playing Chris Rodriguez as a sleeper. Well, guess what? This week, Chris Rodriguez gets the Dolphins. So I am standing by what I said. Chris Rodriguez, good sleeper play in week 11. That is not my sleeper, though. My first sleeper is going to be. Go ahead.
Oh, hold on. Can I address that? Because I will say, and you're not going to believe this, in the last 3 weeks, I believe it is, Miami is top 5 in defense against the run.
Well, now he gets Chris Rodriguez, and that's over.
Well, and it's over.
All right, but I am going to give you a running back, though. I'm going to go running back. Sean Tucker of the Buccaneers. His role has been increasing a little bit more over the last few weeks, eating more and more into Rachaad White's touches. In week 10, we saw Tucker actually led the Bucs in rushing yards with 9 carries to Rachaad White's 10. We saw something similar in week 8 before the bye week when Sean Tucker carried the ball 12 times for 42 yards and a touchdown, again, outproducing Rachaad White on 1 fewer carry. Now, White still is getting most of the passing downs work, but this is now back-to-back games where Sean Tucker has taken on about half of the running back rush attempts in that backfield. And in both instances, he's been far more efficient than Rachaad White. The Bucs could continue to increase that role. They're going to see the inefficiency of Rachaad White. I think they're starting to people in our community have been talking about Rachaad White as such a terrible, inconsistent, or inefficient runner between the tackles for years now. I think the Bucs are starting to realize that this guy's not that good of an in between the tackles running back. So they're starting to crank things up with Sean Tucker, continue to increase that role, which could mean big things for Sean Tucker in a game against the Bills, who allow the 3rd most rushing yards per game and the 6th most fantasy points per game to the running back position this season. And no team has allowed more rushing touchdowns by running backs this season than the Bills. This game could easily shoot out and create a bunch of scoring opportunities for a guy like Sean Tucker, who, by the way, has more red zone carries than Rachaad White over the last 2 games. I'm not saying Rachaad White is a smash start this week, but he's absolutely in the sleeper conversation as a top 36 running back.
Sean Tucker, you mean?
Is that what I said? You
said Rachaad White.
Sean Tucker, not Rachaad White. Sean Tucker. Thank you.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I do think Rachaad has been a little more at the mercy of the schedule in that his style doesn't jive with some of the teams they played. I think they just played the Patriots, didn't they? Or that was earlier in the season. I don't remember.
No, they played the Patriots last week.
They lost. Rachaad White, he depends on making the defense not know why he's back there, whether he's going to run the ball or split out. And he is one of the best catching backs in the NFL, and has proven that repeatedly over the years. So, Yeah, I agree with you. I was actually going to use Sean Tucker on the show today, and my comment was going to be that I think there's room for both of them to actually have some success today,
Yeah.
because the Bills are just really bad against the run. And if Tampa Bay is going to win this game, they've got to set the pace. If they let the Bills set the pace, the Bills will run away with it, and then you can forget about seeing Sean Tucker, because it'll be all Rashad White catching balls out of the backfield.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think he's an absolute start. As a matter of fact, if I had them both on my team, I'd be sitting here at 50-50. Like, I don't know which one to play. I would probably lean towards White for the pass catching,
Right.
if it's a PPR
Yeah.
league. But yeah, I like it. It's a great call.
What you got?
And guys, if you have questions about your lineups, drop them in the comments. We will definitely answer some after we are done with our sleepers and before we get to our flaming hot bold predictions brought to you by Cheetos.
Unofficially.
I got something in the works.
All right, we'll see. Okay.
Did you want to talk more about Tucker?
No, that's it. Play him. Top 36 running back this week.
Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, I'm going to move on to this one. Is not as deep a sleeper, but it's enough. I mean, he's only 45% rostered. So he's still out there in, over half of leagues, if you need the help. And that's going to be where are my notes? And that's going to be Emari Demercado from Arizona. We got Bam Knight has got a ankle issue. I bet he's probably going to play, and he'll probably start. But he's just been horribly inefficient already as it is. I think Bam is averaging 3.27 yards per carry, and that's not going to get it done. It doesn't make anybody fear the running game, where when they're trying to protect Brissett as well, so that Brissett's not always throwing into deep coverage. So Emari, I don't have the stats in front of me. Maybe Alex does. Last week, Emari had 7 touches in total, I think, and went over 100 yards. And to me, that just tells you how explosive he is. Because he does have 6.9 yards per carry for his career. That's per carry. When you add in the receptions, it actually goes down instead of up, which is absurd. So you were talking about a little guy who's a tremendous pass catcher, 6.9 yards a carry.
Well, he's averaging for this year. For this year, he's averaging 9 yards per carry.
Per carry, not even catches.
And guess, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but guess what he averaged? Guess what he averaged per carry last year? 9.3 yards per carry. I mean, this is on 24 carries, but it just speaks to his explosiveness.
I think for his career, he's over 6.
Yeah.
So, and in the last 3 years, he's got runs of 49 yards, 53 yards. This year, he had a 71 yarder before he, dumped the ball off at the goal line. He was like, "You can't come in here." So I think Demercado is the way to go. I think Arizona is going to have to run the ball. I do think Michael Carter is going to be involved. I think Bam Knight is probably going to start the game, but probably also get the least amount of carries of the three of them. So, if you're playing against somebody that's got Bam Knight, just go ahead and laugh it all the way to the bank. Or you could really stick it to him and pick up Demercado and play him against him.
Yeah, I mean, I this every week. I've talked about this before. Every week, going into the sleeper show, I usually make a list of players that I'm interested in and I'm considering doing for the show as sleepers. And Emari Demercado was pretty high on my list of considerations this week for a lot of the reasons that you talked about. I mean, he's been a top 36 and RB3 in 4 of the last 5 weeks. If in his last 4 games, his total yardage, 81 yards, 1 yard the next week. But then it was 78 yards, and last week was 104 total yards. And this is on an extremely limited role. And I think,
he's barely getting the touches.
Yeah, I think the Cardinals are starting to, forgive him for what happened at the goal line, as you mentioned. Yeah. And they're starting to recognize that, one, Bam Knight, not that great. Michael Carter he was RB1 on the depth chart after Trey Benson went down. He's been shuffled down to RB3 and barely on the field at this point. Emari Demercado, he's been the guy who's getting consistently more and more opportunities. And I think, especially with Bam Knight coming into this game, whether he plays or not, he's coming into this game pretty banged up. I think they're going to decide, you know what, we're going to play a lot of Emari Demercado this week. And
because even Michael Carter has been he's been on the shuttle back and forth between the roster and the practice squad.
Exactly.
Just repeatedly every week. They're like, before the game, they're like, okay, you can come.
Well, I mean, before Trey Benson's injury, he was on the practice squad all season, and they brought him up only because they had multiple injuries at the position. But yeah, I think Demercado, not only is he, their most explosive runner, he's also their best receiving back out of the backfield as well. So if he gets even 50% of the snaps in this game, that's going to be enough for him to be an RB2 in fantasy football.
Yeah, he could certainly be a factor. And I want to leave it with one more thing. This is a lot of people in this industry, or even just football fans in general, have a tendency to lean on what they know of a team from the past. And what we know of San Francisco is that they've always had strong linebackers and at least 1 or 2 really good guys on the line. And they were not a cakewalk for a running back by any stretch of the imagination. Now, I'm not saying they're a cakewalk now, but I will say that this season they've allowed 100 yards on 4 separate occasions, 6 TDs to running backs, including 3 earlier this season. It's they're averaging allowing 17 yards to running backs in fantasy points. That's notable because you're talking about a team with a winning record. It's not as though they're a last place team and people are just pounding the ball to run out the clock. San Francisco 6-4. Just a minute ago, they were tied with the Rams and the Seahawks for first. So the fact that they're still allowing 17 yards per game to running backs, or 17 points fantasy wise per game to running backs is pretty cool. So forget whatever you preconceived notion you have about them going against the Niners' run defense. It's definitely susceptible.
All right. Moving on to my next sleeper. So I gave you Sean Tucker earlier. Now I'm going to go to the Raiders, and I'm going to talk about two Raiders wide receivers.
What?
Just going to quickly mention one of them, and then we'll dive into the other.
I didn't. Don't do it. Ugh.
Trey Tucker. All right. Trey Tucker is a good sleeper play this week for the Raiders. It's a good matchup. I know he hasn't been that great lately, and he's had some opportunities to be great, and he hasn't. But he does have that game earlier in the season when he was wide receiver 1 overall. He's got it in him, and it's a great matchup, great opportunity. But I really want to focus on someone else in Vegas. No. And his name, out of the grave, Mr. Tyler Lockett.
Oh, my God.
Tyler Lockett, he's only...
You can't be serious.
I am dead serious. All right. As dead as Tyler Lockett was 3 weeks ago, that's how serious I am. But Tyler Lockett is back. He is alive and well. He's only been with the Raiders for a few weeks, but he was already running 79% of the routes in week 10 with a 24% target share. With Jacoby Myers no longer on that team and rookies Jack Betch and Dante Thornton not ready for NFL football, and I don't think they're ever going to be, it looks like Tyler Lockett is going to be playing a fairly significant role in this offense. He's already got a history with Pete Carroll and Geno Smith, so it's not that surprising that he's gotten up to speed pretty quickly. Not only was he on the field a bunch in week 10, but he also led the team in targets, receptions, and receiving yards in that game. Now he gets a matchup with the Cowboys in week 11. We already know how horrible that defense is. They rank 3rd in most yards allowed to wide receivers, 1st in most touchdowns allowed to wide receivers, and 1st in most fantasy points per game allowed to the wide receiver position. Lockett, he's only rostered in just 3% of Yahoo leagues right now. So if you need like a Hail Mary desperation play in a deep league, pick him up, lock it in.
Oh, you did not just do that. Oh, come on. Lock it in.
Lock it in, baby. Fire him up.
Boy, can he still run, a 4.5 with his walker?
I'm telling you, I thought it was over. When he requested his release from the Titans, I said that was a huge mistake because he's passing up a paycheck and his career's over, because who the hell is going to sign Tyler Lockett at this point in his career? Well, the Raiders are so desperate for wide receivers. They dug him out of the grave, opened up the coffin, pulled him out, got his heart going again, and he is back, and he's playing a pretty big role in that offense. Great matchup. Fire him up, man. Lock it in.
God, lock it in. Oh, God, how dare you? Like, I'm the one that's supposed to bring the bad jokes.
It would not be a sleeper show with us without some cheesy jokes.
That's
what the people come for.
Well, it's also why Cheetos is knocking down our door.
The cheesy jocks. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, I've actually always been a fan of Tyler Lockett. He's one of those guys who is the prototypical slot guy. He's owned the slot role, never complained about. He just never rocks the boat. You know what I mean? If they don't use him, he's like, that's okay. We won the game. He doesn't complain about catches or opportunities in the red zone. So yeah, I'm not surprised to see him with Carroll. Now, I will say this is Dallas, and this is a really big game for Geno Smith. If Geno Smith pulls an Amber Heard against Dallas, you'll see Kenny Pickett next week. I guarantee it. And he'll probably be one of my sleepers. Uh,
I think
but
we're getting close. I think we're getting close to fixing it.
well, I'm saying if you're gonna, I mean, Dallas has got to be the last stop. It's got to be like, if you can't do it against these guys, then you know what? There's you shouldn't be playing quarterback in the National Football League.
Yeah.
Although there's quite a few that are. But yeah, I like the call overall. I mean, somebody has to get the ball, and God knows that Gino's having enough trouble getting it further down the field. So crossing patterns and things. Honestly, it's similar to Bowers. If his two targets end up being Bowers and Lockett, I could totally see that happening. So, all right. Are you ready for this?
Oh, we're ready. We are ready.
Let me say again for anybody that's just joining us, if you have questions, we will each have one more sleeper. Then we will answer some of your questions before our start and sit tomorrow that goes on at 12:15, when we will answer every question in the chat. As always, tips go first. But well, I mean, come on. I mean, let's call it like it is. Let's call it like it is. I could use a pack of smokes. I'm gonna really, you guys know I like digging really deep on one, at least one. And I am just pulling out all the stops this week.
This might be the deepest sleeper we have ever had on this show. I just want to preface with that.
It could be.
It might be.
Isaiah Hodgins. Who? Isaiah Hodgins for the New York Football Giants. He has spent the entire season on the practice squad of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not even cracking that lineup because, Pittsburgh's wide receivers are so strong that he couldn't get in there. But let me tell you about Hodgins. The reason that he's on the Giants right now is because he's been with them for several years prior. And in all of those times, his offensive coordinator was Mike Kafka, who is now the interim head coach of the Giants. So there is a level of trust there, and that's one of the reasons why they went and got him. I can totally see them sitting in a room, Kafka being like, "Where's Hodgins at?" You know what I mean?
Well, the second they gave him any bit of power, they go and they sign this guy.
Right. So anyway, Hodgins runs a 4.65 40. He's a burner. He's not particularly fast. He's 27 years old. He's been in the league for 3 years. But here's the thing. In New York, Darius Slayton is out. He's not going to play. When everybody was screaming about Darius Slayton's season because Jameis Winston got promoted, well, now Slayton's not going to be there. So you got Wandale, who primarily runs from the slot, doesn't run a lot of deep patterns, although he's got more this year than he has in the past, but it's still not very much. And Theo Johnson. Wandale Robinson, Theo Johnson. There. I just named the pass catching core aside from Isaiah Hodgins, because everybody else, or they got that Russian guy too, Deshevsky or whatever. But
Gunnar Olszewski, the former Patriot. Don't disrespect his name like that.
Yeah, that's what he's Russian, right?
I don't know what he is. I don't know.
Well, I mean, his name's Deshevsky.
Olszewski. Gunnar Olszewski.
I
don't know. It starts with an O.
I don't know. His big play last week was knocking an interception out of the defense's hand. So, woohoo! Way to go, Gunner. He should be a gunner on the special teams. Anyway, so this is what I'm saying. There's nobody left. And Jameis Winston is not going to stand around and throw the ball 5 yards every down. You guys know Jameis. He wants to go long. And as far as I can tell right now, unless Wandale fools the coverage, it seems like it's going to be Hodgins. He's played on the perimeter. That's all he plays. He's not a slot guy. They're not moving him out of position. You don't have to be fast as long as you're smart and you run good routes, and he does. So I could see, for sure, 50 yards and a touchdown on one play. And boom, your sleeper just hit. But I could also see Jameis developing a rapport with him. We've seen Jameis develop a rapport with people we really didn't expect before, because he's been around. But everybody's excited to see Jameis. Jameis knows everybody's excited to see him, and he knows they're expecting certain things out of him. And one of those things is to push the ball downfield. And Isaiah Hodgins owned in this many Yahoo leagues.
Yes.
0% rostered. He is there. If you need to dig deep. Now, I'm not calling this a slam dunk by any means, but if you're in a situation where you've got like so many injuries and you really need a boom bust, or maybe the guy had Stephon Diggs on Thursday and you're already way in the toilet, this is one of those things where it's a lottery ticket. You know what I mean? So, what do you think about that, Alex?
Yeah, this is not a sleeper for those baby leagues. This is for the big boy grown man leagues. This is a big
boy sleeper.
Yeah. This is for those 14, 16 team leagues, those deep, deep leagues with big starting lineups. This is your guy. If you can go get him. But yeah, we talked about him for a few minutes before we started recording. And like you said, Jameis Winston. Well, for one, if Russell Wilson was the quarterback this week and it's Isaiah Hodgins out there, I'd be laughing at you for this take the same way I was laughing.
I wouldn't even do the take if it was Russell Wilson.
This is a Jameis Winston bet right here. And Jameis Winston, while he's a turnover machine, he will chuck the ball down the field. He has zero interest in peppering Wan'Dale Robinson with 7-yard catches over and over and over again. He wants to push the ball down the field. He wants to push the ball to the boundary. And who is the guy who's going to be running along the boundary down the field? That's going to be Isaiah Hodgins in this game. Jameis Winston, he made Cedric Tillman a thing. He made Jerry Jeudy a thing. Jerry Jeudy hasn't done anything without Jameis Winston. This guy unlocks wide receivers. He unlocks big plays in the offense. He scores a bunch of points for fantasy.
He's exciting.
In reality.
He's an exciting player. This is what football is all about.
And his press conferences are equally as exciting. Did you see him singing this week? He is so excited.
When he when they had that interview with him before the game, when it was there, I went really fucking white again.
Yeah, he did.
It's like as soon as I sit back and look away, it goes all kooky. When they interviewed him on the field, like in the snow, he's like, I thank God for putting me in this place with great football weather. And I'm so excited. And like, he's got that infectious smile. Like, how can you not
I know.
root for Jameis Winston? I mean, how anybody doesn't root for Jameis Winston is completely beyond me. But yeah, and he's going to do his level best to, to make sure that he's in that driver's seat for the rest of the season. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to look it up right now. If I'm not mistaken, let me see here. Oh, of course, the first searchable thing is Jameis Winston's biblical post has fans predicting a wild game against the Packers. I don't even know what that is, but that's awesome. I'm going to mention it anyway. I could be wrong. You can look it up and prove me wrong if you want. But I just saw Jameis Winston's stats, and I think it was against the Packers. He's 7-0. He has never thrown an interception. Or not 7-0. I'm sorry. He's got 7 touchdowns, no interceptions, like a passer rating of like over 120. Something preposterous like that. I saw this on Annie Agar's channel.
So
it's fascinating, but
so he's got 3 career games against the Packers, a 123.3 passer rating, 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. You're right. You nailed it.
I nailed it. That's why they pay me the big bucks.
That's right.
I'll be looking for my check, Alex.
Okay, we gotta get that Cheetos first.
But by the way, that biblical post is a picture of Jameis walking down a very dark hallway in a brown trench coat and sunglasses. It's a very dark hallway. And he wrote, "The horse is prepared for battle, but victory comes from the Lord." Proverbs,
well,
21 verse 31.
Well, one of his best press conferences was him, saying that he's praying to be, I can't remember how he phrased it, but to be directed away from pick six. Do you remember that?
No, I don't. I do recall. You remember there was a time when we all made fun of Jameis Winston's warm-up routine before games because he just like danced around and like did some weird stuff. And now nobody's making fun of that now. Now everybody loves Jameis Winston.
All right. The quote was, "I'm just praying for the Lord to deliver me from pick sixes." That came from last year after he threw 3 interceptions, 2 pick sixes against the Broncos. Remember that game, Browns-Broncos, where it was like back and forth, a ton of points, and
and I have no doubt that he genuinely did hit his knees, and say, "Lord, I don't know why you're giving me this challenge, but can you please take these pick sixes out?" By the way, if I was really soft earlier, I apologize. My microphone was like halfway across the room.
No, you're fine. But that game is like exactly why we want to play a guy like Isaiah Hodgins in that game against the Broncos last year. He threw for 497 yards and 4 touchdowns as the Browns quarterback. We want a guy who can do that.
We do. We want a guy that in when New Orleans isn't even very good, he's like back there. I mean, Saints fans were angry when they let him walk. Saints fans were pissed off, and I think rightfully so. But yeah, I picked him up in a couple leagues that are so quarterback thin. There are no free agents. And either it's a 2 quarterback league or it's super, super deep. I picked him up. I picked him up on a team where I already had Davis Mills, if that tells you anything. It's a tough league. But it's also like he's one of those guys you don't feel bad picking up. And you don't feel bad picking up somebody you think he's going to like. And that is how we bring it back full circle to Isaiah Hodgins, the sleeper of the week.
All right. Well, you gave us a 0% rostered guy. I'm going to give you a 1% rostered guy and finish this off with another wide receiver. And I teased a Bengal earlier, and I'm going to go with Andre Yoshivas of the Bengals. Joe Flacco, he has that offense playing at a pretty high level right now. And it seems like wherever Joe Flacco goes, coaches ask him, this almost 41-year-old backup quarterback, they ask him to drop back like 40, 45, 50 times a game. I don't know why, but they love to just put this guy back there and just sling it all day long. And that means that while Jamar Chase is the main course and T. Higgins is your dessert in that offense, there's still a little bit of room for, a side salad and some bread in this offense. And the side salad in this case just happens to be named Andre Yoshivas.
And he coincidentally has great salad.
He sure does. So even in the shadows of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, Andre Yoshivas still has managed to receive 18 targets over the 4 games that Joe Flacco has started. That includes 7 last week when he caught 5 balls for 66 yards and a touchdown against the Bears. And if we go back a few weeks to that Steelers game that we talked about earlier, when they met up the first time, Yoshivas, he had a modest 3 catches for 49 yards in that game. It wasn't terrible, but wasn't anything that you'd be excited about. But that was the game that Jamar Chase caught 16 passes, 23 targets. He just couldn't be stopped in that game. I am betting the Steelers are going to do everything they can to not let that happen again this week, which means we should see some of those targets spread to other guys in the offense, including Andre Yoshivas. And the Steelers have been a really good matchup for wide receivers this season. They've allowed the most receptions per game, the most receiving yards per game, and the most fantasy points per game to the wide receiver position. So if you're
against tight ends too, so like I mentioned Fant earlier.
Exactly.
What's the total on this game, Alex?
Do
you remember?
It's pretty high, I believe. It's one of the higher ones.
It's got to be one of the highest.
It is. Yeah, it's definitely one of the highest. I'm going to pull it up right now. That's the exact type of game. It's 48.5. It's 48.5. So it's pretty up there. I thought it was more like 50, but maybe it's come down a little bit. But either way, that's still a pretty high total. That's the type of game that we want to target.
I think they'll blow. I think they'll blow it out of the water. I think they'll blow that total away.
I think they'll go over. Yeah, I think so too. But that's the type of game that we want to play these deeper plays from. We want to find these deeper guys. You look for a game that's projected to shoot out. So if you're in need, of a deep sleeper wide receiver who can give you like 4 for 65 and a touchdown type of performance, Andre Yoshivas could be your guy in week 11.
I love Yoshi. He is one of my favorite players on my team. He's been so clutch. A lot of third down catches in his career. I don't have the stats, but like 2 weeks ago, he dropped a ball right at the very, very end. And in essence, a lot of people blamed him for costing us the game because it probably would have put us in field goal range to win. And he's one of those guys where, like, I just felt so bad. This is a dude that is just grinding, and he's fun. He's a nice guy. So I love seeing him succeed. And I agree with you. I think, I think he's going to poke his head up out of the sand again. I mean, he's getting plenty of the snaps. You know what I mean? His snap share is not bad. So.
Yeah, and I believe he was struggling for a few weeks there with drops during that period, and it seems to be like he's come out of that on the other side, and Joe Flacco's still trusting him. So
yeah, and he didn't used to, so I think they realized it was an aberration.
Yeah, it's just the guys go through this, they go through like the yips or whatever, and he worked his way through that, and he came out the other side, and he had a pretty good game last week, so I think he can do it again. All right, well, those are our sleepers, but we do still have our flaming hot bold predictions. Before we get to your flaming hot
bold, brought to you by Cheetos.
Before we get to our flaming hot bold predictions,
brought to you by Cheetos.
Brought to you by Cheetos, pending TBD. We like to answer a few of your questions in the chat. So if you have them, get them in now. But if we don't get to your questions, or we miss some, we do a start-sit show every Sunday about 12:15, 12:20 Eastern time, and go all the way up to kickoff, and we answer all of your questions. That's all we do. You don't have to deal with any of our shenanigans, any of our cheesy jokes, although we might throw a few in there. I can't promise that, but we're going to answer your questions for sure. We don't miss any. So hit us up tomorrow.
I mean, we routinely every Sunday we answer our last question at like 12:59 and 15 seconds if somebody got it in then.
Yeah.
We don't cut them off. We go right up to game time. So 12:15 to 1 o'clock tomorrow.
All right, let's get Chucks. We see Chucks pretty much every week. Thank you for that. What's up, fellas?
Thanks, Chucks.
Who are going with this week in a 5-point passing touchdown league between Joe Flacco, Aaron Rodgers, and Jacoby Brissett?
I'm not going with Brissett. Just because the Flacco and Rodgers, we just talked about how high the total is, and that they will probably go higher than that. I think the Steelers will tend to have an easier time on the ground than the Bengals, although Chase Brown had a great game against them the last time they played. So I actually would go with Flacco in this situation.
Call me insane. I have Joe Flacco ranked as my QB9 this week. It feels wild, but
I cannot call you insane.
I want to go Flacco here.
He's elite.
Let's get our guy, Matt Flowers. He is the man.
I know Matt.
Yeah, check out his weekly projections template. It's pinned on the Yards per Fantasy Twitter page. Go check that out. Highly recommend. If we're talking sleeper, Sean Tucker, do we play him over Kyle Monangai and Xavier Worthy in half PPR? I would say Monangai, no. Worthy, though?
Yes. Worthy, I think I'd play him over.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because Worthy's so, I mean, ever since Rice showed up, Worthy has just disappeared.
Yeah.
Monangai, that matchup is too nice for the Bears. I think Swift and Monangai can both kind of get theirs in that game. So I think I'd play Monangai. and I'd play Tucker over Worthy.
Yeah, I agree. Should this one's from Mac G. Should I drop Brian Thomas Jr. for Alec Pierce rest of season?
No.
No, I'm not ready to do that either.
I understand why you're asking, but no.
All right, this one might be a little too much, but hey guys, with the Keon Coleman benching and Gabe Davis and McCole Hardman being called up from the practice squad, do you think they would be a good pickup? Josh Palmer is also back as well. Any of these guys worth a pickup? A little too much?
I mean, first of all, I don't know that Palmer is back. Is he? Is he? I thought he was still hurt. Regardless, Keon got benched. How do I not know this? Do I not know anything about the Bills?
You might be making this up because I'm not aware of any announcement or. I mean,
I have not heard anything about Keon Coleman being benched. Oh, it's all over Twitter, he says. Okay. Well, regardless, I think the Bills will play him. I mean, maybe he's not going to start, but I don't think he's not going to play because they're already hurting with Kincaid out as well. No, I don't think any of those guys are worth picking up. McCole Hardman, no. Gabe Davis, I guess if I was forced into it, I'd probably choose him just because of his familiarity with Josh Allen. But Palmer has been a huge bust this season as far as a free agent signing. So, yeah. So that's how I feel. I wouldn't pick up any of those, and I would not be surprised to still see Keon play.
From Sports Illustrated, signs pointing to Keon Coleman being a healthy scratch for the Bills.
Well, hell, too much. You are you're breaking news over here.
Yeah, I didn't listen to your answer because I was Googling because that news threw me off.
What I said was, no, I don't like any of those guys. I guess if pressed, I could choose Gabe Davis because of his familiarity with Allen. Palmer's been a bust. McCole Hardman's life is a bust.
Are you telling me you're hyping up Gabe Davis?
No. I'm saying I could be if you put a gun to my head and said you have to pick up one of these three guys, Gabe Davis is who I would do.
All right, I got one thing to say about some Gabe Davis hype.
That's one of my favorites. Oh my!
That one's a classic. One is a classic. All right. Let's get a couple more questions. From Rishablin class, start 2, Quinshawn Judkins, Derrick Henry, I guess. Yeah, because Hunter Henry already played. Derrick Henry and Kyron Williams. We're going to start 2 of these guys. Judkins, Henry, Kyron.
Judkins and Kyron.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not touching Derrick Henry. He's part of my forthcoming bold prediction.
Oh, okay. Stay tuned. Presented by Cheetos. Let me get that in there.
Presented by Cheetos.
All right.
That's my call. What's your call on that?
I was hoping to not have to give an opinion on that.
No, you
Yeah,
have
I've
to
got
give
it.
an opinion.
All right, I got it too close. All right. So I do have Derrick Henry ranked like 2 slots ahead of Quinshon Judkins, but it is an extremely difficult matchup for Derrick Henry. He hasn't been playing all that well. I do think though game script could make this a very Derrick Henry friendly game. I'm willing to roll the dice one more time, but it's so close that I don't have a strong opinion one way or another on Henry versus Quinshon. I do feel comfortable playing Kyron ahead of both of them, though.
Yeah. Yeah, even when Kyron's in a bad matchup, you like his chances to fall into the end zone at some point.
Yeah,
Um,
we got no Justice Hill this week, so
I want to go back to too much again. Um, I think Coleman's going to play. I understand there are rumors and a source said this, but the reasoning behind it is that Gabe Davis was called up and he plays such a similar role to Keon Coleman, although Gabe Davis does not run like Phoebe from Friends, where Coleman does. But they're basically just saying that because of an injury in the Buffalo defense, it's going to hurt them on special teams, and Coleman doesn't play special teams, so they would rather have Davis there. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. You don't sacrifice one of your only receivers, especially when your number one tight end is out, in order to just cover your ass on special teams, in my opinion.
all right, we'll see what happens. Let's get this one from Matt. Full point PPR, take 2 between Roma Dunze, RJ Harvey, or Aaron Jones.
Yeah, the whole article is just guessing. Full point. Rome, Harvey, that's RJ, or Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
Weren't we just talking about Hunter Henry a second ago?
It's Derrick Henry.
Oh, Derrick Henry. Right. Aaron Jones, Roma Dunze.
Yeah, I agree. I think
Both in the same game, playing both.
I think I think we need to delay 1 week on the RJ Harvey excitement. I think it's exciting that he's about to get, a much increased opportunity, and we've talked about RJ Harvey a few times on the show earlier in the season. And it's exciting that he's going to get that opportunity. This is a really tough matchup against the Chiefs.
Yeah, and not only that, we don't know, when Harvey takes, the next couple games, we don't know to what extent he's going to take the snaps. He's not going to get 100% of the carries and 100% of the catches. So we got to see how they're going to use Tyler Badie and Jaleel McLaughlin. Honestly, I think the only reason McLaughlin's been scratched is because he's like Dobbins. He's pretty much the same size.
Yeah. All right. Let's grab like 1 or 2 more real quick. Michael Wilson or Greg Dortch with no Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, I don't know if the walker matters, man, but if he's dragging around the oxygen tank too, that'll slow him down. Michael Wilson over Greg Dortch, but I don't like either one of them.
Purdy or Knicks?
Purdy.
Yeah,
I don't
so.
like Knicks against Kansas City.
Yeah, I think so. All right, what's your bold prediction?
My bold prediction is that the Cleveland Browns are going to get their third win of the season. And in doing so, they are pretty much going to turn out the lights on Baltimore's hopes of having any parties
Ooh,
the
all right.
rest of the year. And that includes, this will be the key to the game. They're going to keep Derrick Henry under 2 yards per carry.
Under 2 yards per carry. All right. Okay.
I'm thinking 1.7.
On how many carries? It's gonna be like a 3 carry thing, or are we gonna get?
No, he'll get double digits.
All right.
I don't think he'll
like
get 20.
Okay. I like it. All right.
Well,
So
it's a bold prediction for a reason. Too much. Don't put too much stock into it.
don't put too much stock into it.
Don't put too much stock into what I'm saying. It's a bold. You know how often we're right on our bold predictions?
Let me say though, your bold
About that
prediction
much.
last week. Your bold prediction last week was about Kyle Williams, and Kyle Williams.
I
I
hit
don't
that
think
one.
he was. I don't think he was a wide receiver 1 like you predicted, but he was probably pretty close. All right, let's finish it off. Like I said, if we miss any of your questions, you have more, hit us up tomorrow at 12:15. We'll go all the way up to kickoff right here on the Archbest YouTube
12:15.
channel.
Be here tomorrow at 12:15. We will answer every start and sit question. If you cannot wait until 12:15, you can find me on Twitter at Buy and Sell You, starting right at 10 a.m.
Yeah, and if we're a few minutes late, just wait. We'll be here. I promise we'll be here.
Yep.
Yeah, just hit the subscribe button, put on that little notification. You'll see exactly when we go live. So, all right, my bold prediction for week 11. We talked about for an extended period of time. We talked about Jameis Winston and what we like about Jameis and how exciting it is that he's taking over, at least temporarily, as the starting quarterback there for the Giants. And we've seen the Packers a few times this year kind of play down to their opponent. They lost to the Browns. They struggled against some other not so great teams. So my prediction this week at home for the Giants, Jameis Winston, and you saw his singing press conference in the greatest city in the world. He was singing. He is going to lead the Giants to a victory over the Packers.